you do want to base your answers and questions based on who you'll be interviewing with. Different interviewers care about different answers, different questions. Who is getting hired? Let's go what she says.
A lot of the times it's not the most qualified person that gets the job offer. In more than 20 plus years of talent acquisition, I have interviewed tens of thousands of people, and I've made double or triple that amount of recommendations to executive leadership on who ought to get hired. And the one thing that I want to share with you is it is typically not the most qualified person with the longest resume and all of the credentials. It's the person who the hiring team can see solving their problems. It's the person who shows up to an interview and really uses it as an opportunity to have a conversation about what value they bring to the organization and what their skill set really looks like. It's the person who can read between the lines on a job description at a senior level and bring clarity in their answers to exactly how they help solve those initiatives for an organization. Companies right now are not taking risks in this job market, and the way that you present yourself as an interview is the differentiator. And what is on paper at the end of the day doesn't make a darn bit of difference if you can't clearly give that back to us in an interview. So if this is something that you're struggling with, I'd certainly love to work with you one-to-one. I will be back every week posting content about how to help you get across the finish line. Good luck out there.
Hey, no, she ate. She ate for real. Because she's right. Companies are not taking risks. As you start climbing and like doing roles that have um what's what I'm looking for? Roles that kind of have much more responsibility, right? There are all these questions that they have about it. And I was talking with a client, and I'm going to read one of the last things that she sent me because she's been in a process for this role, and I believe she's going to get it. She's pretty much been the person that they want to have the role for the longest, and she's been killing it. So this is one of the questions that she asked at the end, right? Because she needed to bring clarity to this interviewer who at the time didn't have full clarity on their thing. So she was like, one of the interviewers seemed not to be sold on me. So I ended the interview with, when it comes to your recommendation on who should be hired for this position, if you were to say, I like her, but what would your but be? And she said it took him a minute to think about it. And he ended up saying he wasn't completely convinced that I could create a program from scratch and then maintain it. So I explained from A to Z how I build it, then A to Z for my plans on maintenance. And they were impressed. So she just reinforced the thing. Like, and it's one of the things too, where we're interviewing. And I honestly, I think I have the answer for this is that sometimes a lot of interviews can leave us feeling indifferent. Like if it's straight questions that they're asking us, you know if I'm knocking the questions out of the park or if I'm not. But then there are some where it's kind of like I think the conversation is going great, but I do not know how to feel about the conversation. And so sometimes you can ask them things about like, hey, do you have any what's the word? I used to ask the question a lot. I used to ask, are there any things that you have the question of my ability to do the role? Right. Some people say don't ask that, but a lot of people who say that don't ask that. A lot of them had a complexion for protection. I'm just gonna be honest. Sometimes you need to ask that because either say yes or no, and just trying to figure out, okay, what did not answer you? Like, I want to make sure because sometimes you feel like you answered everything, but then sometimes not. Or you can ask them while you're interviewing, hey, am I answering everything? Like, are my answers sufficing? Like, is this what you're looking for? Or do I need to explain more on some of my answers that I've given so you can know that I know I'm doing? Because sometimes maybe you just didn't go deep enough. I've had to happen to me. I just been some questions I haven't gone deep enough. I went back and listened to my interviews and like, yeah, I could have did much better there. Right. I always talk about your preparation. How, and she said one thing clear about looking in between the job description. So the job description will say you one thing, but then when you get in the interview, it's another thing. How do you read in between the lines and make clarity about that? Right. I've had these couple of interviews. I've documented, I prepared. I pretty much told them, hey, I prepared for y'all. Like, y'all's going to ask me this question because if I can do this, but I went out and researched X, Y, Z. Or I'll bring in something to make sense of what they're dealing with. Or Like guy asked me a question once, I gave him one question, and then followed it up with the next question. Say, hey, I was going to actually say this from the last one, but this is something I also want to add on to that question. And it was like, great. Or I was showing how I was solving problems because I was taking notes. And I let them know I was taking notes. I showed them what I was talking about. I had great questions that I prepared for them to ask them about different things. So you can know what you're walking into, right? In every interview, too, is also a way that you can prepare for the next one, hopefully, if you're going in that round. And you do want to base your answers and questions based on who you'll be interviewing with. Different interviewers care about different answers, different questions. So if you're talking to a C-level person, they're less concerned about the day-to-day stuff and more high overview strategy, implementation, money, cost, risk, etc., etc. Make callbacks of what you've heard in the previous interviews. Hey, during this interview process, I've heard X, Y, Z, and that you guys are looking for this, Y, this. I've dealt with environments like this, and let me show you how I can actually help or what my plan would be to do this to ingratiate myself with everyone. Doing things like that, taking notes, coming prepared, dictating the pace, having a great conversation. Yeah, think about it. Once you're like to the final rounds, they know that they'll be talking to you a lot. And people like to work with people they like to work with. And are you pleasant? Do you talk well? Will you speak up in interviews? I mean, in calls. It's a lot. It's a lot. Your presence. Are you too sure of yourself? Are you smart enough to know to say, I don't know something? Like one of the things I think I said was, hey, building out a team or whatever, I would love to help out everybody else. And I'll say also, I'm not beyond the reproach to know that I can't learn something from somebody new in the field. That uh, it's not the same as what it used to be when I first started off. So I'm always down to learn as well. And that way people will feel better about working with me versus if I feel like I'm a know-it-all and I know everything. They love that answer. They love that answer. But no, hats off on her.